No, Andy. No, Andy. No, Andy. Good evening. It is the forum. Welcome along to the show. It's great to see a lot of you already in saying hello to each other on the chat. It's a lovely little community that goes on there. Tonight we're in our houses, not in the studio, not in the bunker, not in anywhere fun where we can have real interactions like real human beings. Instead, we have our virtual selves sitting on your television screen as it stands. Tonight, I am, of course, joined by my friend and colleague, Stevo Daly, back on for the first time and since the last time. And on this side, we've got Dave Thomas. You may remember Dave Thomas from the previous less beardy version of Dave Thomas was there, but Dave said he was never doing a podcast till we won the league again, so we thought it was a good time to have him back on. And then down in this bit down here is Big Joe Walsh. How are you, Big Joe Walsh?
I'll go, Phil. How are you?
Not too bad. I also wanted to make it out clear, lads, Big Joe Walsh hasn't broken into Craig Holden's old shed. That isn't his wallet. It just happens to be a likeness that he has in his own gaff that's sitting there. Right, lads, tonight, on the back of what was another fantastic loss in Anfield, it is the forum. We have our 4 topics lined up. They all have something that's going on as well. But we are going to obviously open up the floor to any decent comments that come in. And if Miranda Cheese is not around, if you want to give us any tips on cling film, that'd be greatly welcomed as well. But of course, the topics start off as they go. I've got one from Steve, one from Dave, one from Joe. And I think I'll go around the house and we'll start with Dave. That way. Dave, let's start with your topic because out of all the topics, it has the least relevance to what went on yesterday and probably ever. But when I glanced,
changes though, Dave. No.
But when I glanced at social media today, it seemed to be taking up an awful lot of people's thoughts, and I see people getting very upset about it. So, Dave, what is your topic tonight, and take us through it?
Well, I was thinking about what we talk about, and obviously we're going to get on to the game, but. Roy Keane had a little moment yesterday, and it's not so much about Roy Keane, right? Because Roy Keane is like, he's the Phil Mitchell of pundits, right? Do you know what I mean? There was a time where like he was interesting and whatever, and now he just does the same thing every week. It's like, how angry can he get about it? But he said something which I thought he described Liverpool as bad champions, which is just a pretty stupid phrase anyway. But I was thinking like, what the fuck is he talking about? And I think it actually spoke to what a lot of pundits and fans and whatever are referring to, which is they almost think of last season versus this season as the only comparison, as in, oh, well, we were champions last season, so this season we've been crap, therefore we've dropped off, without recognizing that for 3 years, Liverpool have been the best team in Europe. They went to a Champions League final, then they won the Champions League, then they won the league. And yeah, we've kind of dropped off this year, but it's not like we had one great season and then dropped off. And I think as I read more and more of the analysis, it's like a lot of people are not as bluntly as feeding in, as getting into it as Keane is, but kind of like, oh yeah, well they were champions and now they've bottled it type of thing, rather than we've naturally come to the end of a cycle that we built up over 5 years, and now we've kind of plateaued a little bit, and loads of reasons why that's happened. But I just couldn't believe he would articulate that. Not that I couldn't believe it. I just thought it was a really lazy comment. But actually, more and more of the analysis of Liverpool is becoming lazier because it's boring to keep saying the same things, which are the real reasons why the performance has dropped off, which is injuries and fatigue and the natural consequences of what's happened in the last 3 years. So even though it was Roy Keane that kind of set me off, and I shouldn't have let Roy Keane set me off, it was the bad champions comment, which I just thought was stupid, but it's so prevalent in so much of the conversation around Liverpool at the moment.
Stephen, your thoughts, please.
I'd rather be bad champions than great runners-up. That's probably my first thought. Second is, as somebody just master of debate there said, we're no worse champions this season than City were last year. It's been a mental season, regardless, not just for us, for everybody. There's been crazy runs of games. There's been, we've had massive injuries in key. It's not just losing your 2 centre halves and then replacing them with the 2 other centre halves in the squad. It's you lose your 2 centre halves and then lose the entire core of your team, basically. So yeah, listen, I actually was going to say I get what Roy Keane is saying. I think, yeah, he does love an old, quote to rile people up, much like Dave Thomas himself. I'm a
changed man.
Well, it's lovely to hear, Dave. It's lovely and it's lovely to see you as well. But yeah, in all reality, I think I think it's a bit of a bullshit comment, but it's a season that we're in, which is just, it's a once in a lifetime season of craziness that's come along. Do I think we'd have had another season like last year, even without the injuries? No, I don't. I think Diogo Jota has been nearly as, I know this sounds mental, but he's been easily as big a loss as Joe Gomez, but it's had a huge impact. Like that front 4 were clicking because you were able to pull one of them out if it wasn't happening, but I'm getting to the point now whereby I nearly cry when I see Divock Origi taking off his fucking jumper and getting ready to come on the pitch, and we're basically down to 10 men when he comes on the pitch now.
I think if you look at the last 4, apart from City retaining City retained the title. I think they're the only ones that have done it since Ferguson did it. But if you look at the last 4 title winners before that, United, when they won it last, fell off the next season under Moyes. Obviously, Leicester won it. They went into the relegation zone. Chelsea under Conte and Mourinho both dropped off. In fact, both of those managers got sacked the season after they were champions. City then, last season, dropped off after they won the league. And now we've dropped off. So it just goes to show how hard it is to have 2 seasons, then my 3 seasons at that level. We had 2 seasons. For all intents and purposes, the season City won the league, beat us by a point, we posted the highest points total of any league winner, never mind a runner-up. So we essentially matched them stride for stride for 2 seasons. Of course, you can't do it for 3. They couldn't do it for 3.
Yeah.
Giuseppe.
Yeah, I think it's just disappointing the last month and a half when we were top at Christmas, and just the results since Christmas. That's probably like, we all thought we mightn't win it this year, but we'd give it a good run. So just disappointing to fall off so much since Christmas and drop so many silly points. That's, I think, and listen, Roy Keane is going to say whatever's controversial and whatever people want to hear. He's not, it's the same every weekend. He'll just attack an individual player or a team and they'll run with it. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to Keane, but just, as a bad champions, no, but it's just disappointing the last few weeks what's after happening.
The idea of bad champions is a bit stupid, to be quite frank. If you look at the season after Leicester won the league, they finished 12th. City won after last year, finished 20 odd points off what they'd done the previous year. I think United finished 7th after the last time they won the league under Fergie. It's quite common for a team to have a drop off the season after they win the league because the level outside of the injuries, because we'll get into the injuries in a while, but outside of the injuries, where you have even a relatively fully fit squad or a normalised fit squad, the emotion that it takes to win in a league to get you over the top, particularly the first time around, right, is huge. Like, why do you think so many teams, when they get promoted out of the Championship, often the team that gets promoted as the champions struggled in the Premier League the following season because they have won a league. I know they haven't won the league, but they have won a league.
Yeah.
And when they come up, that raw emotion that was there often drives them on for the first 2 or 3 games. And then suddenly, when they lose a game, it sort of a bit unravels because the players haven't been used to losing or used to dropping points on a regular basis for a while. And you can see that, like, you look at the Arsenal team that were unbeaten. Do you remember the Invincibles team that went for whatever amount of games it was? And when they lost a game, it all unraveled very quickly for over 6 or 7 or 8 games in terms of what it was.
Yeah, because, and also, like, the psychological impact of not having a pre-season as well. So you win the Champions League, you come back the next season, we win 25 out of the first 26 games, whatever it was, something crazy, mental, win the league, then COVID hits, and you roll from one season, which is kind of, or from one half of the tail end of one season, pretty much straight into the next season in this mad world that we're all living in. Of course it's going to be, and that's, I think in a normal circumstance, to Steve's point, we would have dropped off because you can't maintain that level for 3 seasons. You just can't. Nobody has been able to do it. It would have been an unbelievable achievement to do it for 2 with the squad that we had. So we were always going to drop off. Also, I think it's important to say, like, there's still half a season to go. You know, we're not like everyone's throwing. I'm not saying, obviously, it's a massive ask to get anywhere near the league now, but there's still half a season to go, and we've had our bad run, and every team has a bad run, and you know, it's only a matter of time. You know, City can't win it. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think City will win every game. You know, they will drop points. They won't drop as many as us probably, and they'll probably win the league. But everyone else is a deeply flawed team.
Well, Dave, can I just ask you this, right? So I meander back to that season under Rodgers in 13-14, right? We've 15 games remaining. City have just equaled the record for the longest consecutive win streak in the league, which has put them on top of the league with 14 consecutive wins. And Steve and Joey, give me an opinion of this, right? Supposedly we're bad champions. If this team, which is and it's capable of, given that we now have 2 centre-backs and a backup centre-back in Phillips and Williams there, and we've got a week until we play our next game against Leicester, assuming that we are able to gel them in, or he puts them in and we get through, and this team goes on a 14-15 game winning streak to equal what City have done, let's say, or even a 13 game winning streak, that's going to have you either first or second come the end of the season, given the way the season is
going to have you second. There's no question about that.
Yeah. I don't see us. Look, nobody knows what's going to happen, you know, but you can't tell me that side with just one of Henderson and Firmino in midfield, never mind the 2 of them, which is the move I would make now. You put Henderson and Firmino in that midfield, we're a different team. Simple as that.
It's a different beast altogether. Yeah. And one of the other things is, it's like people don't take into account that every single season is a standalone thing. The fact that Man City and Liverpool for the last 2.5 years have gone toe to toe with ridiculous points per games averages is something that's just not being thought about. Look at Villa; they scraped by last season to avoid relegation. And they look a completely revitalized team.
Look at Sheffield United the other way.
Absolutely, exactly.
People are talking about Wilder as manager of the year.
Yeah, exactly. He I think he was voted second after Klopp. In terms of the points or whatever else. On top of that, you look at the fine margins of every football match. You look at us losing a last-minute penalty to Brighton at their place. Never mind us, being beaten by them. But it's things like that. There's Kyle Mates on.
We forget that last season, by the way, we were on the receiving end of a lot of those things, like last
lucky things
against Leicester.
Absolutely,
we didn't blow
the two last minute goals against Villa in the opposite way, exactly. Or in the last 4 minutes or whatever. We did as amazing as our run was. There was a lot of times we just squeezed by and got 3 points rather than 1. During that season, as is the case with every team who's ever won the league. Exactly. So it's when you actually take the emotion out of it. I know football's a game of emotion. It's why we're all actually so interested in it. But when you actually look at it and you look at the fine margins between this season's results and last season's results, and it's yet again the Burnley penalty. You know what I mean? Was Burnley, wasn't it? Am I losing my fucking mind? It was a penalty for Burnley, wasn't it? Not Brighton. Sorry, just Burnley and Brighton being close together. But those little things that you're just going, it could have been a very different conversation we're having. And all of a sudden, we're 3 points, 4 points off City with Jota to come back and Henderson and Fabinho to move into midfield. It didn't go our way this season. We still have loads of games left to enjoy. And yeah, we're probably not going to win the league, but stop fucking losing the head over.
And also, I think it's no coincidence that since the fans are not in a stadium, we are not a team that is built on technical proficiency, right? Klopp and his team are built on running the most, running at the right times, but also they're a momentum team. City play every game as if it's a training game, and they used to play in an empty stadium, even when fans were in. So,
yeah, nothing new for them. Yeah.
Joe, I've a question for you, because I like your take on things, and it comes back to the Keane thing. People are giving out about this take, but isn't that what he's there to do? He's there to annoy people. He's there to get reactions. He's there to cause discussions, and he's there to get exposure to the program and the things that he said, so that people click on what's there. Like, I know they call it clickbait, but this is the May.
Yeah, I know. But when it's every week, it sort of loses the appeal. At the start, when Keane comes out with all these shouts and attacks De Gea and Maguire and whoever else, people sit up and take notes and talk. I think it's just, when it's every week, it's just doesn't have the same sort of, it's not as powerful when you're listening to it. And you knew yesterday what was coming after that game. And I think it was Jamie commented earlier on in the group saying, like, 2 months ago, Keane made comments about Liverpool and the desire, and they were not mentality monsters, but something along them lines, and how that they're still working so hard and all. So within 2 months, he's completely changed his opinion. So no, I wouldn't pay too much heed to it, but I can see why he's on. He's more interested to listen to than Redknapp and the likes, but no, it's not. When it's every week, it kind of loses. It's not as powerful to me.
Okay, look, I want to move along from the Roy Keane discussion about bad champions. As Stevo said, it's better to be bad champions than really, really brilliant runners-up, because we've been really, really brilliant runners-up for 30 years. I'd rather be really shit champions, to be totally honest with you, and be really great champions the next year and be champions again. That much better with that. Right, next topic up. Stevo, I suppose let's have a wee discussion around the game. And Stevo, you, like, despite the apologies from Alisson tonight and all, you despise this man. So I'll let you give us your take.
Yes, I wish death upon him and his family. No, I tell you what it is. Since the game yesterday, and it was right after the match, everybody started talking about how uncharacteristic these errors were from Alisson. And I just thought to myself, they're not uncharacteristic at all. And he's been doing this since he signed for us. The difference is it was uncharacteristic for us to get fucked 3 times in 15 minutes from them. That was the uncharacteristic part. His kicking when the ball is put back to him is pretty poor most of the time. He often hits the opposition with the ball rather than actually putting it where he wants it. I'm not saying he doesn't have decent distribution when given lots of time, but when put under pressure from the opposition, which happens plenty, and we've seen it cost goals in the past, he has the ability to just ping the ball 20 yards to the opposition. And in this instance, it was against a Man City team who already had their tails up, and he basically gifted them 2 goals in 5 minutes and should have done better for their 4th as well. I know it was a smash and strike from Foden and whatever else, but it is straight at him. I don't know what speed it was going at. I don't know, the force behind it and whatever else, but it's not like he was the other side of the goal when it pinged in. It literally went in above his hands for the 4th. So I just think everybody spoke, like lots and lots of pundits have spoken about how this is very uncharacteristic of him. I know it's not like him to give away goals, but it is like him to give away the ball in those sort of situations and us just not get punished by it.
Joe?
You chickeny bastard, Casey.
No, I'm waiting to the end. I could have jumped in there and say you're talking absolute shite, but I'm going to wait to the end and then jump in and say you're talking. Go on.
Okay.
You're talking absolute shite, Steve. No, so I get what you're saying. I just find it hard to criticize Alisson because he is so good and he's the best in the world. I do remember a mistake, like you say, he had a ball at his feet. He isn't as good as Ederson stuff, but he's got away with it. But it's very hard. I give a lot. There's a lot of giving out I do about Liverpool, and especially lately. But Alisson's almost beyond criticism for me.
And just for the record, I'm not criticizing Alisson.
You just did.
So just so we're clear on this. No, I'm not. I'm criticizing the pundits who've said it's uncharacteristic of him to make mistakes like that. He does make those mistakes. But as Klopp said right after the game, he has bailed us out so many times. He is a step above every keeper we've had since prime Reina, and he's better than that as well, probably. But that Reina was an exceptional goalkeeper in a weaker team. But what I'm saying is, from the point of view of his ability to just not clear the ball well and not find his own men with clearances, that's my point. I'm not knocking Alisson as a goalkeeper or criticizing him or saying that he's responsible for us losing games regularly.
Dave,
just so we clear that up.
I can't wait. I'll let you have the last take of this, but Steve, no, I'm not having it. And I'll tell you what I'm not having it, right? The difference between us and
he couldn't wait.
This is
By the
where
way, Phil Casey is the Roy Keane of the Trippers. He says stuff for the last fucking 10 years that I've known him. He has just texted me one thing and said, "Wait, you see when I say this." So he's just the ultimate man in the world to just say shit to get people to go off on one. So the fact he even had an opinion on Roy Keane is another one. So let's hear what your Alisson opinion is. Come on.
So so the thing on Alisson is, right, for a start, this idea that he makes that Ederson is better with his feet than Alisson is bollocks. Even yesterday, there's a ball, I think it's on the 25th or 28th minute of the game. He plays a ball, Ederson plays a ball directly to Mane, right?
It's like the 25th or the 28th.
Yeah, I think it was the 25th and 32 seconds or something like that.
I haven't looked it up at all, you know.
But he plays the ball directly to Mane, and normally this time last season, Mane controls that ball, runs straight in and goal and scores. Right? This is what happened. This is what happens. But Ederson in Anfield has done this fucking loads of times. I think. Remember
Actually,
the
did
game
we
we
not
won?
score a goal exactly like that a couple of years ago?
We scored 2 goals against Ederson against Ederson. I think Firmino got on one and Salah got on another. Right. So this idea that Ederson is this amazing fellow with the ball, he doesn't. He has a fancy swash when it comes to hitting the ball. The way he cuts across it and it goes like sideways and spins out this way and that way. But me bollocks, Alisson is actually excellent. Is really excellent with his feet. What happens is the mistakes he made have been when the ball's been at his feet, right? He never lets a ball drop between his hands. He never lets a ball drop behind him, right? He never lets a ball.
Did you just say Alisson is excellent with his feet? The only problem is the mistakes he makes is when the ball is at his feet.
But this is the point.
Are these my hands?
But this is the point, Stevo. They're so rare. The mistakes are so rare.
I know, and that wasn't my point.
But this
that's
is your
point, but it wasn't my point. And
no,
I thought that's what we're meant to be talking about.
You can't have a characteristic mistake when they're so rare.
No, you can have a characteristic which is poor distribution with his feet.
There's no poor distribution. His pass completion ratio as a goalkeeper is much bigger than any other goalkeeper named
Don't
Alisson
make me go look and find the clips.
You can go look all you want.
Can I try and thread
between these two gobshites?
Right? So here's what I see. Absolutely no goalkeeper in the Premier League is as good with their feet as they think they are. Right? So every single goalkeeper
except Joe Hart
goes, I think I'm fucking great. I think I can ping it 30 yards and drop it right, and none of them can. So, I don't like seeing any goalkeeper mess around with the ball at their feet. However, what I would say is I think that Alisson has suffered from a few things, not yesterday, but our defensive line is much deeper. He doesn't have the same room to... I think Alisson is good at a mid-range pass, right? So not 10 yards, but 25 yards. He's better at 25 yards than he is at 10. Believe it or not. And I think that he's used to having the likes of Van Dijk or Gomez or Henderson, or these people in positions where they can receive it, and the same with the 2 fullbacks. I think everyone's out of position, so when he's trying to do those things, he's an idiot. That said, yesterday, he did it against Leicester, I think 2 seasons ago, where it's just needless overconfidence. It's not... So I think he is prone. It is characteristic for him to have that sometimes where it's needless overconfidence. He does it sometimes where he's like coming out for a header, where it's like maybe just stay there and you'll catch it, or whatever, And I think he is prone to that. But no goalkeeper is as good with their feet as they think they are, and they should all just cut out trying to be fucking Thiago. Because none of them are.
Listen, in 3 weeks' time, Alisson will be playing a ball splitting pass between somebody through the midfield, and he'll put Salah in, and everyone will talk about, look at the amazing through ball by Alisson. Nobody can play a ball like him except maybe Ederson in the league. That's the conversation you're going to have, right? If you think about that ball that he played for Salah last year when he caught the corner and pinged it down the end of the pitch, it was pitch perfect pass in terms of what's there. Look, at the end of the day, goalkeepers make mistakes, and Alisson's are rare, and so rare that we're down to things that aren't even characteristic goalkeeping mistakes. If he drops a ball in front of the centre, I actually thought the forced goal by Gundogan, I see people giving out stink about it. I was like, that's a great save. That's a great save that he makes. It just, 9 times out of 10, if Van Dijk is playing and you have a proper centre back, when that ball breaks, he's in to prevent Gundogan clearing up on the on the one that's back.
To be fair, it is uncharacteristic for him to kick the ball to the opposition to concede 2 goals.
Yes.
That is uncharacteristic.
It is.
I think what's uncharacteristic is the opposition scoring the 2 goals.
Yeah.
That's the uncharacteristic bit, though.
The 4th goal, forget about the feet, it was a bad mistake. I think we all agree on that.
Terrible ball to Firmino.
No, but the Foden goal.
Oh, sorry, the Foden
should
goal.
have done better.
Sorry.
Yeah. That was shot. That was terrible. That is uncharacteristic. You never see him concede a goal like that. Usually, I thought it was strange.
I think if he hadn't been at fault for the previous 2 goals, that goal wasn't going in. His head is gone at that stage. So yeah.
That's my worry about Liverpool goalkeepers, right? It's my only thing in the back of my mind. I've seen this way too often, where someone has a game like that and they just go off a cliff. Goalkeepers go off a cliff. I don't think in
mid-April we've Queevy and Kelleher as our first choice.
I tell you, that's in the back of my head.
Alisson's just rocking back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. We start looking up the terms of Karius's loan deal, going, can we call him back? Can we get him back?
Yeah. No, I think we're okay. But
I think the real issue for Alisson was he kept looking over and seeing ADRIAN on the bench, and you just couldn't figure out what the fuck's going on. Like if anything goes wrong here, I've had the shits for a whole week. Like I can barely move. I have to come off.
I think that's a point, man. I don't think he was well at all. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think people underestimate the impact that being sick can take out of a footballer who has to run up and down a pitch all day long. And even the way goalkeepers are being asked to play, they aren't just standing around looking at stuff anymore. They're fully involved in the game, and that goes back to the idea of having to knock the ball around.
I'd love to say to him though, listen, where's your saviour now? You know? You're doing all this Christian shit. Look what's happened, you know.
The Jesus stuff. The Jesus stuff needs to get knocked on the head to be talking about.
He's gonna stop.
We spoke about this a few weeks ago. It's all the fucking Brazilian lads. They're all heavy Catholics.
Well,
we'll leave it there. Orkies.
No, I think being a Catholic is fine. Just being a heavy Catholic is a problem.
I don't think he's a Catholic, Stevo. I don't think that's Catholicism.
He's born again, right? Born again.
Sorry, I've just made a random assumption because he was reading the Bible. It's all fucking fairy tales.
Like an island.
It's like saying, he's not big into Enid Blyton. He likes reading Roald Dahl. It's all the same. Fucking made up.
He's into the next volume of Tolkien's novels as opposed to the first one. Yeah. It's like,
to be fair, now, Steve, you live on the island of Ireland. Getting the wrong type of Christianity is a big deal here. Like, you know what I mean? So,
which fakeness do you believe in? Yeah. Anyway, well, let's. To
be fair. Yeah. To be fair, I think there we go. Grizz reads Eid Blyton as opposed to Enid Blyton.
Let's not start with puns. Right,
what was Joe? What's your topic? I can't remember, so you may as well just introduce you. This one is going to light the boards up. If you think Alisson slagging was bad, right? Because like this is going to be. Go on, Joe. This is brilliant.
What is my topic again?
Don't bottle it now.
My issue. No. My issue is with the team that won the Champions League. Since then, we've had 4 transfer windows, and arguably we haven't strengthened the team in any position. Go back to when we lost the Champions League final. We've brought in 2, Alisson and Fabinho, and then since then, that Champions League final, 4 transfer windows. We've made 9 or 10 signings, and they've either been flops or squad players, and I think could have something to do with this season's performances, that the team has just gone a bit stale. So I don't know what everyone else feels about it, but I think when you're successful, like certain managers in the past, you strengthen when you're successful and when you've the appeal and your Champions League and your champions. And I just think we failed to do that. And the only one that you could probably say is in or around the first is THIAGO, but still that's debatable whether our strongest 11 he's in that at the moment. So I just think the team might have peaked and it's on the decline, and not strengthening 4 transfer windows is a problem. I know not people. I know a lot of people won't like that.
I think Dave, would you like to respond to this? Go on, Steve. I'll lash you in there. Go on.
Go on, Steve. Go on, Steve.
No, listen, I get what Joe was saying. If you look at the club, and I'm starting to sound like a fucking cheerleader for the club and its ways of doing things, but I think last summer was a good window if we hadn't had the issues we ended up having with injuries. I think Jota turned out to be a smashing signing and is well capable of going in, or was pre-injury anyway, in the form he was in, of going in and he was outperforming. You know, like Jota in the form he was in before injury is better than anybody bar Salah in that front three. Mane is off form and has been for a period of time. Firmino has been really poor. So I think he was a good signing. I also think it's very unfair on THIAGO in a way that he normally would have been expecting to be playing in a midfield that probably would have had Fabinho and Henderson in it, or Fabinho and Gini in there. And the difference that, as we've already spoken about, the difference that it makes to the team taking them out, him trying to play a 6 in the Premier League compared to playing it in the Bundesliga is very different. And you can see that. You can see the fact he keeps on getting fucking booked within about 40 seconds of the match starting. You know, so I think last summer we could have had a decent window, and it could have turned out to be it probably is a better window than it looks at the moment, I think. But I also think we're forgetting how much this club is reliant upon the revenue it generates. And with COVID around, with the fans not in the stadium, with TV revenues down, all that sort of stuff, that's having a huge impact on us as a club. And we can't get away from that. That's just the way we're run. And we're not going to ever be able to just go out and spunk, you know, 100 and 120 million every window. It's not going to be the way it's done. It's not, you know, it's not the way the club is going to ever approach it. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. I know we probably should have strengthened after the Champions League win. That's probably the window that I was most disappointed in terms of.
Yeah,
really
we brought in 4 players really that window. And when you look at them, they were never even going to even contend for the squad players at best. And then the last window, yeah, we brought in 5 and Jota, as I call him, and THIAGO. But still, from what Klopp has said, for that front three, that was his first choice front three, and Firmino's essential there. So I still don't think Jota was going to be a first-team regular. Now, I know he played well, but I just think the team has gone a bit stale.
What's a pivot off?
What?
This coming summer's window is the most pivot waff Klopp said.
I think he was going for pivotal of. But,
pivot waff is going into my vocab now.
Maybe it's German for something. I don't know. The pivot waff.
Go on, Dave. What are you going to say?
Look, I think the evidence backs up what Joe's saying, in that, in hindsight, I think that, you know, perhaps another one in each of the transfer windows might have made a difference. I think there's loads of caveats to that. One is, I don't think the team that won the league or the team that won the Champions League is an easy team to improve. I think you go through. You know, if you go through the best players in the Premier League last season, or even the best players in Europe, and you pick who's the goalkeeper, you're going to pick Alisson. Who's your left back? You're going to pick Robson. Right back, Alexander-Arnold. Van Dijk's going to get in there. There's an argument, Henderson, Fabinho, both get in there. And the front three are going to be close, right, at the top. So I think he brought THIAGO in thinking, okay, there's something different in the middle of the park. He's brought in cover at left back, and then he's brought in someone to rotate in the front four. I think if COVID hadn't happened, it would have been interesting to see what we might have done last summer. And I think anyone expecting this summer to be a massive spend, it's just not going to happen. I also think that transfers, and we, as much as any club, are obsessed with transfers, right? I think more so than any club. I think we think that transfers, because we've been screwed so many times, and we've had so many bad transfer windows, or so many failed pursuits of transfer targets, Willian, Konoplyanka, Costa, you know, you can go through all the ones that Mkhitaryan or whatever that fell away. You know, we're a bit more obsessed about it. But think about players like, Curtis Jones has come in. You know, he's a player who didn't cost us any money. And for me, he should be in our starting midfield right now. All right, Nico Williams hasn't come on as much as perhaps we would like him to do. But even the two young centre-backs who've had game time this season, they're either going to make it or they're going to end up being sold for reasonable money. I just think I think he's a really hard manager to bring someone in. If you are either okay with having a year of transition, or then I think you can go and try and be, take chances. Or if you're like Guardiola, where you can buy a player and they can take a year to adapt, if you look at Rodri or Mahrez, or even even John Stones at the back, Cancelo, all these players, they've had like a year before anyone thinks they need to go and be starting in the first team for City. Now they're ready for it. We just don't have that luxury to be able to take a year, to take a player. I mean, look at the time we've given Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain. We've given these players time, and we can't afford for them to take a year to be ready. So I think that's the challenge for it. I think hindsight and no COVID, we should have gone bigger last summer. But at the time, I don't remember anyone going, that we should have done a lot more. I think, everyone said a backup fullback, or certainly a backup left back. Everyone was happy with Thiago. I didn't think we needed him personally, but, he's a great player. I just don't see how he got into our midfield. And Jota, everyone was excited about that. So I get it. I just think it's really hard to buy for this team. Really hard to buy for this first team, not necessarily the squad.
I think the one thing, and listen, as you say, hindsight is 2020, but we have been bitten in the arse by not signing a centre half to replace Lovren last summer, and that's one big place where the management and the scouts and Michael Edwards and everybody else, they have to hold their hands up and they have to take responsibility for that. It has had a huge impact on us, and that's down to them choosing to go with one world-class best centre half in the world and two injury-prone or injury-susceptible, centre halves alongside him. And what's happened is all three of them have got fucked this season, and we've fallen the victim of it. And that's the reality of it. They didn't choose to go. I'm sure they could have done a deal in the summer, in the way they did one for Jota to have it the money spread out and whatever else. I'm sure they could have found the right type of deal for good quality. They could have kept Lovren, but I think he just wanted to go at this stage, Dave. I know you're probably taking the piss, but
no. My point is, right, if we'd kept Lovren, everyone would have gone fucking ballistic that we kept it. Absolutely, I agree on that. I don't mind Lovren when he was third, fourth choice.
Steve,
he comes in and plays 15 games. Yeah, go on.
Can I just throw a different lens on this idea that on what's there?
Because absolutely not. I'm partisan.
Okay, because in Arsenal land it's great. No, the reason why I'm saying this is I don't know if the recruitment is meant to have been as bad as it's turned out, right? So I go back to most teams. They taking Joe's example, when we lost the Champions League, they basically lumped a load of money into it to push us over the top, to get us over the top to win major trophies, be it the Champions League or the league title, right? And then every sign they've made since then has been a play to allow natural progression into a squad that doesn't lead to a big transition season where you have to take out 3 or 4 players and replace them with 3, 4, 5 players in the same way they used it to get them over the top. What's happened is that the players they've signed in those windows haven't stepped up yet to the levels that they expect them to step up, to put the pressure on the players that were already there. So as Stevo said, as Dave said, it's very hard to sign for Klopp to go and sign a better player than what he has in positions, because they really set them up themselves to have 12, 13 players that were the best that they possibly have, where you only need to deal with maybe 2 or 3 injuries at any one time that's in there. So if we look at our squad and look at the players they have signed in that amount of time, they've tended to be young 20 to 24-year-olds. So the signing of Thiago was definitely a step different to where we'd been to before. And clearly it was a plug and play. The idea was that we needed something to change. We knew the teams would address us in the way that Atletico Madrid did last year, with the 2 stacked fours, cutting off the space and not letting the wingers around. And the idea was to have those 2 midfielders who run up and down, and then Thiago can just basically fit into gaps and play these lovely through balls and link plays that's been going on, and not necessarily an orchestrator at the base of the midfield. But what's going on with the killers has been, Keita has been pure pants. Like we spent 50 odd million on pants, and I totally believe that Keita is the worst signing we've ever made in terms of the return out of what we did. We waited a season to get him into the club, and we're happy to leave him sit there. He's come in and he's offered zero. Now, and that's not to say that I think he's a bad player. I've said this. No. I think when he's played and when he's been able to put a run of games together, he looks like a lovely midfielder in terms of bringing the teams together and being able to bring play up the pitch and break teams down and everything. But for what we spent, it's terrible. The return is terrible.
He's a massive. All it takes is the tiniest thing puts him out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks at a time. That's the, and therefore it needs another 3 or 4 weeks on top of that for rhythm to be rebuilt up. You get 2 or 3, 4 games out of him, and he's gone again. So And this is where it comes back. Like, I think we were hoping that when we signed Shaqiri that we'd get more out of him as well. When we signed Oxlade-Chamberlain, they were hoping that he would come along, and instead it hasn't happened. And you look at all these signings that Joe was talking about that happened in those windows. They were hoping that they'd be able to get them in, develop them into smashing players that would then increase the squad size and put pressure on the 11 or 12 that Klopp can almost nearly names in his sleep that's there. Instead, we've ended up. Look at Curtis Jones. It's a great story. He's come through and he's playing really well. And he's at a level now that puts him above Keita, that puts him above Oxlade. And I'm not saying natural skill, but just in terms of what he's delivering and what he's doing for this team. And he definitely put himself in the ringer for being a selection, because to me, I look at Gini and I'm saying there's a fella whose legs are starting to go. And not that he's getting old and starting to go. It's just he's played so many minutes because of what's gone on around the pitch. And then playing in that centre midfield and being asked to do the doggies up and down is eventually going to wear a player down in terms of what's there. All I keep looking at
for me right now is he is Wijnaldum's replacement. He is the person that we should be saying, is in our starting midfield with alongside THIAGO, Henderson, and Firmino. Those are the four for me that he's ahead of Keita, he's ahead of Oxlade-Chamberlain. I love Wijnaldum, and if it was me, I'd sign Wijnaldum to another contract, but I don't think that's going to happen. But Curtis Jones I think he's got everything. He has got absolutely everything to be a phenomenal player. He's young, which means that when he has a bad game, you can see his head drops a little bit. He comes to knock, which is normal. But what is he, 20? 21, whatever he is? He is going to be a hell of a player.
Yeah, and he's a kid that really believes in his own ability. Like after that game, I think, was it Newcastle where he gave the ball away and they scored? And he came out and said, listen, it was a bad mistake by me. I'm upset about it. I'm disappointed I've caused a goal. But I'd do the same, I'd still try the same thing again. And that's an amazing level of confidence to have for a young lad like that, because we've seen many a player come in and let's call it his proper debut season. A couple of things go wrong and they're Ben Woodburned down to League One. And I don't think you're going to see that happen with him. Paul Smith is saying he's 19. That's a phenomenal age.
But I'm looking at it and saying it's so disappointing, because when I didn't want us to sign Oxlade, and when he came in, I thought, do you know what? He's put me in my box, and he's made a difference, and he's brought something new to this team. He's brought, in terms of that direct running style from midfield with shots off and doing something. But again, his same issue he had at Arsenal. He can't string a season together. He can't get 30 games out.
Teams move past players. It happened with Lallana. I remember, I think the last time I was on, I was just saying, like, the Lallana who made it into Klopp's team, the team just passed him. He just got better than him. And the team has passed Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's not good enough now to play. Oxlade-Chamberlain is good enough to play for a team chasing, a title or chasing a top four, but he's not good enough to play in a team that wants to dominate and wants to win, every game. And that is, I think, because of injuries.
He's a West Ham player. I've always referred to him as a West Ham player. I'd have Joe Gomez in that category as well, but
I know where you're coming from on that. I think he's the sort of player that can come in and be the third midfield in a well-oiled machine. But when things are not going well for Liverpool and we're in the trouble that we're in at the moment, him, Origi, they're prime examples, and even Keita to a point they're not going to dig you out of a hole. They're not going to dig you out of this hole. They're not going to be the ones to help you turn the fortunes. And that's the key issue.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we miss. And I think maybe that's what THIAGO was meant to do, is to say, when the front three are having an off day, you got someone else that can make the difference, someone that can do it.
He picks the lock.
Maybe he hasn't had the opportunity to play in what I think is the best midfield, but I actually think Jones is more of a difference maker than anyone we've got there. and more so again than Oxlade-Chamberlain, Shaqiri. You know, Shaqiri's got like 20 minutes of high intensity running in him, and then he walks all around, you know. And unless he's going to put one in the top bin from 35 yards out, he ain't going to do much, you know. So it's a waste playing Shaqiri, and it's a waste playing Oxlade-Chamberlain, unless Oxlade-Chamberlain is the type you can bring in where we've just won 4 games on the bounce. Everyone knows exactly what they need to do, and he slots into that, and neat and tidy, he does what needs to be done. But I think
sorry, Dave. And I think, though, if you go back over the 4 windows, I think it's where people had seen crucial misses, as in if we were talking about Lovren and improving the centre-back situation, the Matip thing hasn't happened just overnight. He's been injury-prone since, I think, after his first 6 months at the club. Joe Gomez has also been a disaster when it comes to long-term injuries. I said this last week. It's not about being injury-prone. It's about the fact that you have a fella who gets injuries that
he has a susceptibility to
long-term injuries, right?
Horrific injuries. Yeah, and they're always terrible fucking injuries that happen to him, you know. Yeah.
And then the other side is that Milner's putting in a great spin for a 35-year-old man. But like where Milner was 3 years ago, going back to Dave's point about teams that reach their point, or players that reach their point with the team, and the team moves on, and like he fills in a gap. But we're expecting him to do something now in midfield because of the situation that we're in. I think the biggest thing for us, and I don't know Klopp will do, because I know he's so focused on making sure players are ready to come into the system. But the biggest thing that could happen for us is for him to put centre backs in at centre back and saying, fuck it, sure. Like if we have to keep playing our midfielders, we're going to struggle to win games. Put those lads in. If it takes them 3 or 4 games to get their partnership going, Joe, you're a centre back.
I said that against City. Yeah. There is no way, you know, you put those 2 centre backs in. They're all Fabinho and Henderson in front of them is going to protect them more than if you have Fabinho and Henderson in centre half and someone else playing in midfield.
Milner.
You know, you pick 4 players. You say 2 centre backs and those 2 in midfield. It's a different and. I say
and you sacrifice even a little bit of what Henderson and Fabinho give you to say, listen, lads, an extra bit of protection for your 2 centre
But also, if they're not good enough, they're not good enough, right? We can't.
Don't fucking sign them 5 days ago then.
If they're good enough, player. Now, I understand the argument that they'd only had, I think, 2 training sessions. But I go back to Van Dijk. We signed Van Dijk, and I think he played 2 days later, right?
And scored.
Made his debut. And THIAGO. You know, all of these players, if you're good enough, and that worries me a little bit, the Klopp didn't play one of them to go, okay, like I know Kabak is good enough, so I'm gonna play him. So that's my worry about it. But
I think you will see him come in this weekend. Yeah, but something else we haven't discussed, and I don't know. Listen, I haven't not been Minamino's biggest fan since he's come in. I think he's flattered to deceive, but I don't understand. And maybe it was just a financial decision that the club tried to offload Origi, couldn't. No one was willing to give them the money they wanted, and they got the opportunity to shift Minamino, and one of them wasn't going to be getting game time. But surely Minamino fits into what we're doing with that front 3 more than what Origi does. Because Origi is coming on game after game, starting matches. He doesn't have the spark he had 18 months ago.
I think Origi is a better option than Minamino in that front 3. I think
he doesn't.
No way.
At his best, maybe Joe, or at his best, maybe Dave. But he doesn't look that player anymore. He looks a disinterested or a player lacking confidence. Whatever it is.
I thought he was excellent against West Ham when he played against West Ham. I thought Origi was excellent.
No.
Yeah, I thought he was poor. I thought his ability to close down. I thought his ability to close passing lanes. It was all 90%, and that extra 10% is what, you know. If you press 90% effectively, you're basically pressing 0% effectively.
Either of them are good enough, right? Minamino wasn't good enough, and Origi's not good enough. And I think again, one of the challenge to bring. Sorry, Joe, I'll let you in after this. Is Klopp maybe needs to change the way he plays a little bit, right? If you've got a player like Minamino, maybe you can't play 4-3-3 and expect him to do a job on the wide left or wide right. Maybe you've got to go to a diamond, or maybe you've got to go to a 4-4-2 and play 2 up front and play him as almost like a number 10. You know, there's different options that you can play there. But he can't play 4-3-3. At least Origi has a bit of pace and a bit of directness about it. So I think that's where I think Origi, or a version of Origi, makes more sense than a version of Minamino. Sorry, Joe.
Just not this version of Origi. Sorry, Joe, what were you going to say?
No, I just going back. Forget about Origi and Minamino. Like Firmino, I've banged on this drum for 18 months now. Everything that was good about his game is just gone. His running stats are down. His winning the ball back is down. He's scoring 4 or 5 goals a season. I keep saying he's a number 9. Okay, I know he doesn't play as a traditional number 9, and he's the link-up play. He's not doing the link-up play. He's giving possession away 20 times every game now. He looks like he's put on weight to me, and he's still. I just think playing him, the difference in him 2 years ago, it's a different player, and I think he's finished personally at Liverpool. Whether it's just whether it's just his age, he's 29 now, whether he's just some players 29, 30 start just downward spiral, or else he's just won everything and he's not interested. I don't know, but everything about him is just.
He's always given away a lot of cheap possession, though. He's given away a lot of. He would have won it back then.
His running stats are way down. He's getting chances almost every game he's playing. He's not scoring them. He's playing in between Salah and Mane, and there's no excuse for him not getting.
The only thing I'd say, right, is Liverpool have scored more goals than anyone other than United, right? So the attack, in fits at least, is working. So something's working there because we've scored, and if obviously United had the 9-0. So, let's say, but we've scored more goals than City, more goals than Leicester, more goals than Chelsea, more goals than Everton. So I know what you're saying. When you look at Firmino individually, you're like, I totally get that argument. But the overall is still functioning to some degree. So how much do we lose? And I don't know enough about it. Like, because we haven't got someone to step in and replace him and see how it would work without him. Like, I think Mane's drop off is more worrying than Firmino's drop off.
I don't think Mane's drop off has been as long term as Firmino.
That's the thing. Exactly.
But lads, can I just, on the Mane drop off and the Trent drop off, you can almost track a line straight back to them getting COVID, and the people are just forgetting about this part as well. Like if you look at Mane normally up until this season, up until he goes on that international break and he picked up COVID in terms of the international break, his work rate was through the charts. When you look at him playing now, he doesn't seem to have the same intensity or the same burst of pace as he had. And like, who knows how long it's going to take him to get back. He's probably going to need the preseason to get his lungs and his body fully function. And people don't know what impact this is going to have on footballers. We don't.
Well, I've had COVID and Joe's had COVID, right? And certainly for me, it took me 8 months for my lung capacity to get back to where it was. Now, for
you to be able to cover the same amount of ground as Mane.
It's impressive.
No, but I used to be able to go up the stairs without panting.
You couldn't. You'd come into that Astro Park and you'd be bollocks, you old cunt.
All right. Let's not go there. All right.
You're like, no,
I'm having a moment with my fellow COVID sufferers, Trent and Samuel. Like I've been there too,
But come here on Firmino though. The other side is right, and I'm gonna and I'm his biggest critic on this on the forum, and I have been on the pod. Well, possibly not. But the only thing with Firmino is that Firmino's best run of form has come when he's had a direct threat to his place. So when Origi looked like he was, when Firmino had been off on international duty and Origi got the few games after the Champions League, the year that we went on to win the Champions, after we lost the Champions League and went on to win the Champions League, right? His form when he came back, because he felt that his place was under threat, was huge. When Jota had taken a spot before Christmas and then gets injured, Firmino's best run of games come directly after that until we find out that Jota is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks in terms of what's there. Then he still gets to. I actually thought he played all right against City. I don't think the problem I have with him is that he just doesn't score enough goals. 2 years ago, he was scoring 10 to 15 goals a season. I'm saying, right, I can live with that when the two lads either side of him are getting 15 to 25 goals each. That's fine. When he's scored 3 to 8 goals in the course of a season, that's a disaster.
But how much of Firmino, right? And I understand he had ups and downs, but Firmino's game is dropping a little deeper to get the ball, right? Because we're 10, 15 yards deeper than we usually play. That means he has to come to the fucking halfway line to get the ball. Whereas when Henderson played, in front of Firmino, and then you had another, either Wijnaldum or Oxlade-Chamberlain or Keita, whoever. He had two midfielders within 10, 15 yards of him, meaning he was closer to goal. I just think the whole system is out of balance because, and we all know this, you take those two centre-halves out, everything from there by moving the midfielders back, it's all stretched.
Yeah,
you're ruining me segues.
Sorry.
Dave, the point we were saying,
Need the fucking memo.
There's not many positions we can improve on. It's clear now that Bobby Firmino is nowhere near good enough if we want to be where we're at. So that's one position. That and centre half are positions where we have to go out in the transfer window and replace them because they're not good enough. Before this argument, we can't replace Trent, or we have the best left forward, we have the best keeper. Now we clearly don't have a second good centre half or one that's reliable, and we don't have a centre forward that'll score goals. So they should have been addressed last season. Hopefully next season it will be.
But I think they were, Joe. I think Jota is, or had up to the point of injury, proved to be that person that could come in and play across the front three. That person that we were talking about, the ability to interchange any of those four and rest them up. And his injury came at the worst time because the run of games since his injury compared to the run of games before his injury has been horrific. The amount of matches he's actually missed is fucking huge for a 2 month time frame, you know. And
the size of the games. The size of the games.
Yeah,
these aren't absolutely. Just like if you think when we get past Leicester and Everton in our next two fixtures, we've only got Arsenal, Chelsea and United left to play until they get to the end of the season. Because they've played everyone else that's in the top that you traditionally call the top six and Leicester.
Fair, you know what I mean? January we didn't have many big games either, but we tended to fuck them up. That was the problem. We fucked up West Brom, Brighton, and Burnley.
But can I just come back right in terms of the idea that this piece around tiredness creeping in with certain players, because like Firmino has more miles under his belt than most of the rest of the players because he just doesn't get injured, so he plays nearly all the time he's available. Mane has been the same outside of the COVID thing, but like I think the last time I remember Mane getting injured was, remember he got injured towards the back end of the season with Everton in a game, and we sort of had a bad run into the season when he got injured. So you have all these things. You have Salah's never injured, like outside of him going to his brother's wedding and they all got COVID at the wedding, like he's never injured.
He's Suarez levels.
In terms of what it is. So all these players that's there, like, and it takes into my topic. If anyone takes a step back and looks across sport in general in this particular season, which is a very, very different to what we would normally experience. If you look to the similar leagues, look at Barcelona, who won the La Liga last year, right? Way off the pace in terms of what's there. Look to Paris Saint-Germain, who at this time last year, with the same amount of games played, were 18 points clear the second place team. They're 18 points off the points total they had this time last year. You look at Manchester City, who are being glorified now as this amazing team who's going to go on and win the league. They've 2 points more than they had this time last season. The difference is we've fallen backwards. Outside of Bayern Munich,
27 points different. Isn't there? 27 points.
You look at Juventus. Juventus have been leading the Italian league for the last 28 years non-stop, right? Nobody's been near them, and they've often been generally about 55 points ahead of even when they were relegated in the bottom leagues, they were down. But
they were still winning the league.
Juventus are fourth in Serie A at the moment. It's unheard of them to be that low. In fact, I think only Bayern Munich are the only ones that are still, relatively speaking, where they were this time last year, in the midst of all this that's going on. And it's not just football. I watched the Super Bowl last night. Most people know who listen and they hear me talking about American football, but I watched it last night. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. The common thread that's come through this is that team won the Super Bowl at Cantor, by far the best team. Missing a load of players. Why were they missing a load of players? Through fatigue-led injuries. Even Mahomes himself, who's the best player in the American football, he was in bits trying to play last night in terms of the injuries. So you look at all these teams that won the league often at a counter, and then you look at the level of injuries that they've experienced off the back of that season because they've had to lead the charge, and they're going into this condensed, shortened seasons, and the players seem to be suffering these catastrophic injuries, and key players are suffering these catastrophic injuries. Somebody said Celtic. I know Stevie G is winning the league by 100 million points up there, but this, like, the Celtic team are having an absolute mare. Like, it
almost
is
like these people aren't robots.
Yeah, it's almost like if it goes back
like
to,
there's a pandemic going on, and
yeah.
But the other commonality that's sitting there, lads, is they're all wearing Nike kit. The only team I didn't mention there that isn't is Bayern Munich. And people rubbish this, right? But the Nike course is real, right? And you look, we moved to Nike. We were flying, right? We moved to Nike.
Yeah, I'm sure Michael Jordan would testify to the Nike curse.
Yeah. It cursed him with uncontrollable slam dunkage. It was a terrible condition he went through.
Hang on, Steve. Michael Jordan doesn't wear Nike. He broke the Nike course by coming out with his own brand, Air Jordan, right? So you have to remember, he broke the course.
Produced by?
Look at Barcelona about to go bankrupt. We end up wearing Nike, right? We end up wearing Nike. Bananas. We're going to end up getting relegated out of the Premier League. Somehow Sheffield United are going to catch us, right? It's something that's sitting the Tiger Woods
after a season.
Stevo, Tiger Woods, at the point where the Nike course kicked in, he had 11 majors and ended up with 14 mistresses, and has only managed to put up another 4 majors since then, right? Like, we are talking a true course here. Serena Williams, look at her. She's banjaxed. Can't play tennis anymore. Still stuck in a quarantine.
She's only the greatest sports person of all time.
I know, but still, no, she's stuck in a quarantine room in Australia now at this stage. You just have to realise, lads, if we sold our soul to Nike, this is what happens. This is what happens.
Listen,
when
you're going to sell your soul to Nike, you should at least get them to pay for Mbappe.
Shawnee Lawson is spot on the money. We should have signed with O'Neill's. We would have been no messing around.
Up onto the Long Mile Road, get the contract done, boom.
Get to the O'Neill's factory shop. Actually,
you don't be paying full price for O'Neill's.
No.
Straight up to the factory shop.
Yeah, we could have been us and the Dubs 8 in a row. Would have been not a bother at all in Thames was there. But actually, talking about O'Neill's, lads, I had what's the weirdest? Do you ever buy things in the middle of the night?
No, I sleep.
No, but do you ever wake up and just randomly do stuff like a QVC port? Like,
yeah, but it's not buying stuff.
Stevo?
I woke up on Friday night / Saturday morning, and I bought 3 pairs of laces. And it was the randomest thing. I woke up, when you wake up on Saturday morning and you go like, what the fuck did I just do? I looked at a pair of elastic.
Literally, I've never done that in my life.
You're talking about this as if it's an everyday thing. Like, sometimes nobody does that. What do you want about it?
I woke up to look at what was going on, and I was like, oh, that's a really good product. I think that's a great idea. When you're half asleep going, this is the most amazing.
No.
Dave, when you occasionally slip and then you find the toilet brushes up your bum and you're just like, oh, how did that happen?
When you look,
2 nights in a row.
When you wake up,
someone lucky to slip in exactly the same spot.
So no, Phil, we don't wake up on a Saturday.
We don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about.
That's a great product.
No. So that's just me.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely just you.
So, I know people get drunk and buy stuff, and then suddenly it arrives, and you're going, "What have I done here? What have I done here?" But this is now just I haven't drank since 2020, so I can't even blame alcohol.
I've never drank and bought something that wasn't food. Like, I've just never got drunk.
But you never these things are put there to make you think, Jesus, that's a great idea. Why hasn't somebody thought of this before?
Sorry, wait a minute. But the product you're talking about is laces. You need that advertised to you.
Yeah.
You realize that's a great product.
Because they
get dressed in the morning.
Phil is the prime candidate for AdSense on the side of his emails,
do you know also gets me? When you read down the bottom, like, look at what she looks like now, or look at what he looks like now, and you click into it, and it takes you 400 pictures, and it's never there. Like, that always drives me mad.
The problem is, right, that obviously
how
these
many viruses have you got on your PC?
They use remarketing. So you're looking up things like bondage, and they go, oh, laces. There we go.
Bandage.
Okay.
Bandage.
Yeah, but no, I don't wake up in the middle of the night. And
see, look at that.
I do think it's far too easy to shop online now.
Rapid fire there. I bought an air fryer at 2 a.m. and it was a shockingly good boy. See, sometimes the subconscious kicks in and you get these amazing purchases that you can't go wrong with.
A QVC there at 4:30 in the morning. Absolute weirdos, the two of you. You and Rapid Fire. Both should be on a list.
Rapid Fire is his missus.
Rapid fire is just my burner. I just used it off the phone there to put it up, so I didn't feel weird in this whole conversation.
Yeah, guys.
Great for baking cakes on air fryers. I don't, Steve, you do a bit of the old baking. Can you bake a cake in an air fryer? I know I have one and it says that you can bake cupcakes. And I was like, how
do you bake in an air fryer? Yeah. Think about that question now for a minute. Can you bake in a fryer?
Yeah.
Isn't the clue in the name?
Yeah.
You can't bake a cake in a fryer.
Well, it's like it's
fry a cake.
You can fry
a cake.
You can fry it.
You can fry
Break that cake.
That's cake in a fryer and put the fryer in the oven. And then
that's a great middle oil Aldi klaxon. If Aldi was open 24 hours, I would be like, you'd be sleepwalking, be like a zombie going around just picking up something random. Scuba wetsuit at 4 o'clock in the morning, swimming home up the canal.
Swimmers. Yeah.
Saddle. Going in, put a wetsuit and a saddle. What's on? It's 3 o'clock. This is great.
I'm going to ride my horse through the canal.
In case I ever end up as James Bond and I have to go underwater.
Need to go into the Liffey on the fucking old pie ball. Yup. Good job I wore my wetsuit today.
All right. So anything, lads, anything else you want to discuss? Anything else?
Wesley Fofana, is he as good as people say?
I don't even know if that's a real person. So it's like
yeah, he looks excellent. He looks brilliant. Yeah, everything about him.
He looks the real deal.
Anytime. 19 years of age and all. Brilliant.
Is he not a rugby player?
19 years of age and all.
Yeah, but the guy come in at 19 to a new league and play so well. Like, why didn't we sign him?
Yeah, an excellent
Wesley Fofana. I just think of the song from the movie Big. You know the song that they sing to each other.
Do you know what I mean, Frake?
Sing.
Frake.
What's the song, Dave? Just give us a bar of it, and I'll tell you if I know it.
Listen now, that ain't gonna happen at all.
It's long COVID prevents him singing live anymore.
Yeah, he used to have a fucking voice like Shirley Bassey. Now he's fucked.
Listen, I can't play left wing anymore.
Now he has a voice like Ron Massey.
Shawty Lawson. Shawty says James Justin is excellent. That's not even real. That's like a regen. He's 4 years into a career or something on FIFA.
He just has a blank face, like he's wearing a morph suit. He's not even a real person.
When they start doing like two first names.
No, I haven't. I've heard people saying that's why I asked about Fofana, because I'd seen people talking about James Justin and Fofana, and I haven't watched Leicester at all this season, so I've apart from watching them play us, I've no grasp of what they've been like, but they seem to be decent, both of them, from what people are saying.
Yeah, both have impressed me this season. Yeah, he came from Luton, I think. Roy Full came from Luton, plays left full. James Justin. Yeah.
Used to work in the airport.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He was on his way to Heathrow. Took a wrong turn.
He was a fucking baggage handler.
Right, lads, this has been... No, I'm not answering more questions. This has been...
Answer another one. Come on, one more.
I think Owen Conway says Barnes and Madison class 2. Tough game on Saturday. Somebody says Lauringer, Leicester scouting department is top notch. To be fair, it is. But of course that's this part of the market that they're operating in. Like, they buy players to sell them on. That would have been what we would have done.
The ability to not get it. They're not under the same level of pressure that we are to get it right.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. They're under pressure, but not the same level.
That's a good shout by Avo the third there. Are the training pitches at Corby a different size than Anfield, because we don't seem to be able to play the same since moving? I think that goes back to Dave's earlier point and Steve's earlier point and Joe's earlier point, that the injuries to our centre-backs have really decimated the way that we can move as a unit. So the whole unit's stretched, and that's why we aren't playing as fluidly as it would be. So you can't play that one-touch passing. The one thing I would say, though, THIAGO has pissed me off a wee bit, that he seems to need to take 3 touches to get the ball off. When he was playing with Bayern Munich, it was all one-touch stuff, and this is like, he takes one little touch and then goes to pass the ball and slows it down a wee bit. And for that reason, I'd say just give him a free contract and let him out of the club. Release him immediately.
Get rid.
Send him.
Get Shaq on a 5-year deal instead.
Send him and Kate to Luton Airport. And,
he's the Spanish Lalana.
Yeah.
Spanish Lallana.
We can trade him for
a bit of a Cruyff turn.
Spanish Lallana.
And that's my contribution for the next 2 years.
Next 2 years.
Yeah. See you in 2024.
What is your next when do you plan to do your next pod? What do we have to do for you to do the next pod?
I'll do the next pod when we can go and have a drink and meet when we do it.
Okay, that's fair point. That's good. I have something to read out here. It's not my it's not my
Is it the website for the laces?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
he got a sponsorship deal off them.
Yeah, I really do recommend Expand laces. They're the best things you can have. It saves you having to tie your laces. They hold they hold the shoe in place. You can use them for running, training, and all those different things.
I actually do use them, by the way. I do use them.
See,
I just don't buy them at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's a fair point. That's when I make my decisions. The best decisions are made at 3 o'clock in the morning, half asleep. For anyone that's listening, that's still with us and liked and shared, thanks for all that and thanks for watching and your support. We're trying to get to 10k subs. We're on the way, so keep making up burners and keep following the thing. We know that there's only about 30 of you out there, but if you keep making all the burners, we get over the 10k, and that's a really good thing that's there. Let me see. Tuesday, tomorrow, we have the mystery draft with Keith, Gav, Chris, and Oscar. So that should be good because I think the mystery draft thing is a bit mad. I don't know how it works, but I just sort of look there and nod. It's not 3 in the morning, so I'm too busy shopping at that stage. Wednesday's the midweek feast with Jamie, Gav, Keith, and Shawnee, and I believe Jamie is hosting that. So are we playing? We don't have a match this week, so I don't know what they're going to go on or what they're going to talk about there. We'll probably talk about how Jamie lives in the Shankly satellites, and the rest of us are all dwelling around the swamps at the moment. Thursday is, of course, Carnage with Grizz. He'll be on with all the latest rumours and in the know stuff that you need to know for coming up for the next transfer window, because the transfer window is most important. Friday is the forecast, and most importantly, lads, there's a charity draw that's going on. 499 tickets left. We've sold 395. I think there's 100 tickets left. There's loads and loads and loads and loads of stuff in there for the charity draw. It's for a good cause for young lad Keane. There's so much information on the feed that you need to get on and see what it is, but it's definitely worth going in and buying a ticket and seeing what you're going to win out of that. It's really good. We ask you to please do it. It's been great support so far, so please do it. And if you have bought a ticket or whatever it is, buy another one, and then also retweet it and tell your friends, tell everyone about it. So that'd be really good. And that's been about it. I have been your host, Phil Casey. To my left is Dave Thomas. Down there is Stevo Daly. And sort of in a southwesterly direction is Joe Walsh down there. Yes.
Before you leave, I've just had a brilliant theory.
Yeah.
Maybe our really bad transfer windows have been Grizz's fault, because we like to get our business done behind closed doors. And such is the level of knowledge that Grizz has on transfers. He keeps on blowing all the fucking deals we plan to do. And then we end up getting left with the bargain basement shit that, no one really is suspecting us of. So if all the people out there listening want to blame somebody, just blame Grizz. You all have his Twitter account. Maybe go give him some abuse tonight or something.
Absolutely. Blame, because we've lost all our really good transfer deals because Grizz revealed the transfer targets earlier and it's led other teams to outside him. Yeah.
Week after week after week, he ruins this club. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's fault. I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm not saying it's not.
He's also the team sheet leak as well. So if the club want to get on that, you know where to go and have a look. So that is it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the lads. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we will see you next week. Listen to the rest of the shows.
Cheers, Phil.